you? Welcome to Closet Chats and welcome to my closet. We have a man in the closet. The man is Sam.
Sam with 2 M's.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sam has kindly agreed to come on and let me pick his brain on a few topics that I might not understand because, you know, I'm a woman and we have different life experiences. This is going to be a very deep-ish conversation.
Yeah.
So if you are a child, there might be some information in here that is not for you. If you're child-minded, you might want to click off. If you are intolerant, this is not the space for you. If you're none of those things, keep watching. Please tell the people what you do.
Okay, so my name's Sam with 2 M's, Tembo, but some people know me as D-Tron. That's like my creative name because I'm a writer, scriptwriter, songwriter. I do music low-key here and there, and yeah, I'm here to talk to you today.
What the hell is up with men shaming women that have body hair on their legs, on their arms? I don't know if you guys have watched the previous episode. I was telling Kamota that a guy tried to shame me for having hair on my arm. What is that?
Honestly, I think that's a little bit ridiculous because body hair is something natural, you know. This is something that happens at puberty. It's something we're all supposed to know by now. And even I have like a lot of arm hair. And, you know, of course, we have to like groom ourselves and whatnot, but it's natural for people to have body hair and whatnot. So there's just a little bit of a double standard because it's okay for men to have like body hair, but it's not okay for women. And yet it's natural, so I don't understand.
Do you know where that stems from? Like, where does it stem from? Because, like, if you look throughout history, there was like a point when women and men were just like free with their hair and stuff. So I don't understand where people lost it and how people feel they have the right to just come at you and tell you what you're supposed to do. Does it come with like men feeling like they have ownership over women's bodies regardless of who the woman is?
Yeah, definitely. I think so, because it's kind of like a very superficial standard that we've created. Like, we always want these models from the magazines, like they've done up themselves, makeup, they've shaved, like all that good stuff. But in real life, it's very different. True. Because nobody, no guy, no woman can be that type of person like every single day, you know. So even before models go for shoots and whatnot, that's when they do that kind of grooming. But like everyday life, this is who we are, you know. And
you have Photoshop as well.
Yeah, there's that too.
And you have Photoshop, so our view of what women should look like is very
superficial.
Very superficial. It's very manufactured.
Very.
It's not real, basically.
No, it's not.
So how do we, like, what are we supposed to do to change this? Because at the end of the day, most of these magazines are run by men. They're owned by men. They're kind of run by men. And even the women that have positions in these magazines, like, you know, people will talk about Anna Wintour, but that's like a small percentage of the women who actually have the decision-making power. So what do we do, considering that we're kind of part of a generation that's going to raise the next generation?
I think maybe because we don't have like power with these media houses and magazines and whatnot, we can just do simple steps like even our Instagram, our Facebook. We don't have to always post the most perfect pictures and share the most perfect moments of our lives. You know, we can start by just being us, accepting ourselves for who we are and going through with that. So like, I just take a picture when I wake up and post that. Like, I don't have to always put filters and whatnot, because that's carrying on with this trend of being superficial, because you're always trying to prove, to say that this is me, I'm the bomb, you know what I'm saying? But in reality, we're just us. We're only human, so we can't always look glam like that.
Of course. Speaking of looking a certain way, have people questioned your masculinity?
Yes, they have.
Physically, seeing you physically?
Physically, no. I feel like, you know, because I'm like really big boned and I've got the whole beard thing going on, so they think like, oh, that guy is like really macho and whatnot. And I'm a very chilled person. So, you know, when you look at me and you try to approach me and we have a conversation for the first time, people are surprised at how chilled I am. You know, and they're like, wow, he's actually pretty soft. He's pretty cool and warm and welcoming. You know, so that's kind of just like the only thing I've faced in that regard.
Does it throw them off when you're like chilled? It throws them off because they expect you to be a certain type of way?
I guess it goes both ways. Some people are thrown off and some people actually like it, you know. They feel more welcome and they want to stick around a little bit more because of that.
Does it make you feel safe as compared to someone who is less of a stereotypically masculine man?
You know, sometimes I have my doubts because people expect more from me than I actually am. You know, they expect me to be rude and to be rough and to not be gentle and to not be chilled and to not do things slow and to not ask by saying please or saying thank you. So in that regard, I feel like it doesn't make me fit in because I just want to be a well-mannered person, you know, and they expect more from me. They expect me to be rude and to slap people because I look like I just go around slapping people, which is just the furthest from the truth.
Why is a straight man's defense towards something that they don't know gay? No homo. What is that?
I feel like it's just insecurity, you know. I wish I could explain it like much deeper, but at the end of the day, it all just boils down to men being insecure. They just don't like something different, something they can't understand, you know. They always want things to be a certain way, and when it goes off that rail or that track, it's just wrong, you know. But then again, it's also just based on the way we've been raised. Again, it goes to the cultural aspect and maybe our religious affiliations and that sort of thing. So there's a lot of insecurity.
So I wonder, like, how free are you to be emotional?
Oh, I'm the freest I can be.
Do you get like when you're like emotional in public? Like, do you get emotional in public, or do you have to like check yourself and be like, whoa, 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 you can't do this here, chill?
Yeah, most times I check myself. You know, I feel like there's a time and a place for everything. And so I always try to reserve, whether it's words I'm saying or whether it's my tears or my anger, I always try to reserve it for the most appropriate place. And, you know, a lot of people know me as an emotional person because I'm really just a person. But there's some people who've attacked me and said, no, this dude is gay, like, because men can't be emotional, which is the furthest from the truth.
Yeah.
You know, like, gay people, straight people, we're all humans and we've got emotions. So emotions are like, okay, you know, and I've got a lot of people in my life who understand that I'm an emotional person and they like it because it's the real me at the end of the day. I don't have to pretend for anyone, so it's been more of a win than a loss.
Why is it then so hard to express insecurity as a man?
Basically, it all goes down to how we were raised, and as Zambians, we're very traditional cultural people. So in our culture, they tell us to say, you don't cry, you don't show fear, you don't show this and that, you don't express yourself. So you're basically meant to grow up as a robot. You know, you're feeling a certain type of way, but you don't show it because it's going to be mistaken for weakness. You know, so this is how our parents were raised, this is how we were raised, this is how our grandparents were raised. So it becomes kind of like a natural thing.
Yeah.
And we begin to live in that natural state and we take it as that, you know, just our natural way of life.
It's normal.
Yeah, it becomes like the new normal.
We're raised with traditional values of what a man should be and what a woman should be, in quotes. So the women do a lot of like housework. I learned how to iron when I was like 8, I think 7 or 8. I already know how to wash a plate, I know how to clean, I know how to cook, I know how to wash. And I don't think my brother had to do that. Like, is that different for you?
Well, sort of, because, you know, like where I grew up, like we didn't have men in the house, so it was just like my grandmother, my mother, my aunt. So they taught us some things, you know, like how to clean, how to iron, how to wash, but they never taught us how to cook, you know, me and my brothers, because that was a woman thing to do. And much later in life did we realize that this was a little bit of a bad thing. Not a little bit, like a really bad thing, because everybody needs to eat, you know, and what if the people that cook most of the times are not feeling too well? What's going to happen? Are we just going to sit back and everybody starves? You know, so like I didn't get that experience of, hey, get the cooking stick, get this, get that. So even right now in my life, I'm not really that good of a cook, but I'm learning because I realize it's something you have to learn, and you know, it's best to start now.
Yeah. That's so crazy because my dad actually taught me how to cut a chicken.
I still don't know
how to do it properly, but you know, I will learn. And that's the other thing. A lot of men shame women that don't know how to cook. I can cook. I just hate doing it. I don't like to do it. I probably do it like once a week. And I'm okay with that, you know. My people are okay with that. But the moment I put that online, it's like you're not a real woman. Why do you feel the need to shame someone for doing something that you can't do
yourself?
Actually?
Yeah. Which is pretty stupid if you ask me, you know. Because at the end of the day, we're all not perfect. We have strengths and weaknesses, you know. So some people, cooking is like a strength, others it's a weakness. But the thing is that you find a way to make it work within your circles, within your family, and you progress from there. You know, you decide to say, hey, this is what we're going to do to get this done. And you try to learn, you try to teach yourself these things. But I don't think there's any need for us to shame people who can't do a certain thing. You know, that's just unnecessary. It doesn't yield any results.
Because of how much access we have to the internet now, the attitudes that you see in real life are expressed even more fiercely online.
True.
Slut shaming, shaming women for the way they dress, shaming women for how many people they've slept with. I have a theory about men and why they're so obsessed with shaming women when it comes to the number of people that they've slept with. It's an insecurity.
It is.
On the part of a man, because he feels like, oh, what if someone who's come before me has done the job better than me, instead of focusing on what your relationship is. It stems from a lack of an understanding of what a connection is when it comes to sex.
Oh yeah.
Because for a lot of people, it's about the race. It's about the race and getting your numbers up. For a lot of men,
it is.
When they treat women the complete opposite way, when you can rival them.
You know, the thing with men is that men love power, they crave power. They always want to be in control of a woman, you know. For a man, like if I sleep with a lot of women, that's success, that's power for me. I'm gaining points.
High five.
Everybody is going to give me props for that, you know. And I'm going to brag about it, I can boast, I can post it online, and everybody's going to like and retweet and stuff like that. But for a woman, if she says, yeah, I conquered this and that, you know, I had sex with that guy, or, you know, it's kind of like we want to strip that liberty of her enjoying her full sexual freedom, you know, because it goes against this power that I want, you know, because that ownership, there's a certain sense of entitlement that men have. They want ownership over you. So if you're not sleeping with me, it hurts me.
Yeah.
You see? I'm like, why are you sleeping with other men?
Is that why they lie? Is that why they lie and say they've slept with this girl and that girl?
Definitely.
I've never understood that.
And it's also a way of breaking you as a woman.
Yeah.
Because if I tell you to say I slept with that person, I'm trying to build like some sort of insecurity in you, like I want you to boil up, because now you feel like, oh my god, he slept with her, can I even match up? That kind of thing, you know.
It's easier to control someone if you break them down.
Exactly. So that's why men do this thing where they're always telling you, oh, that person I conquered, this person I conquered. Even with us guys, like amongst ourselves, we lie a lot. I slept with that person, etc. And everybody is going to be giving me props. They're like, this dude is the one because he conquered where I felt, you know. So this is the concept. It's a concept of conquering, which is just wrong, you know, because women are not like kingdoms or whatever to be conquered. they're humans like us, to be loved and respected and cherished, you know, and cared for.
Yeah, we are. Are you a feminist?
I am.
What is that like, being a man in a patriarchal society and being a feminist?
It's hard because I feel like a lot of people look at you like your feminism is just fake. It's like a way of just trying to get into girls' pants and stuff like that, you know, because it's like when I declare myself a feminist, all the chicks are gonna come for me, you know, which is the furthest from the truth, because I want to see a world where we're all equal and we're all as important to each other. I come from a home where I've been raised by mostly women, so I understand how greatly women, like the role they play is like really huge, you know. It's not a small slice, it's like half the cake, because that's what we are. We go half and half, men and women. We're supposed to coexist, we're supposed to be there for each other. And I have like 3 nieces, and you know, I love them very much, and I want them to have the same benefits and privileges that every man out there has. They're very smart, and I want them to grow up to know that they're loved and they're important and they're cherished and they have great value, you know, not placed by me, by the way. It's just natural value, you know. I don't have the right to say you're this much or you're not enough or you're that. I want them to grow up knowing that they're enough and they can conquer the world.
As women, a lot of us have been raised to be strong, but at the same time, you still have like a support system. You can go to your friends, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your friends about anything. Who do men talk to?
Men talk to themselves. They don't. The thing with us men is that it's very hard for us to express ourselves, even towards like our best friends and whatnot. And so you find that most times I would rather just die with something.
Do you
if
cry?
I've got something, yeah, I do cry sometimes. Yeah, it's not the most beautiful sight, but yeah, I do cry. I'm only human at the end of the day, you know. But I've learned to open up. You know, I open up to most of my lady friends, you know, because they're much easier to talk to. But now I also talk to my guy friends, you know, because we're trying to build that thing whereby it's just like, throw yourself out there. You've got something on your chest, say it. This is why most times you find that guys envy each other a lot. There's a lot of envy going down low key inside.
Guy envy.
Yeah.
I've
So
never
you
heard
find
that before.
it's real. With women, you guys are gonna go online and call each other bitch, blah blah blah, trash each other. It's different. But with men, you'll be drinking together. Next thing you know, somebody's picking up a bottle and hitting his best friend on the head. Why? Because things are just boiling up. Like it's just waiting to explode, you know. And this is why sometimes most guys fight, and that's how their friendships end. Because instead of talking about things, you're just holding it in, and one day it's gonna burst and you're fighting, and that's just it.
Interesting. I've never really thought of guy envy. I know there's a lot of like girl hate online and in real life, people pulling each other down, but guy envy is such a new concept to me.
It's very low key. Like we don't talk about it, but it's there. I've been that type of person before, whereby I had a friend who was doing better or who had better, and you feel like, you know, low key you're just watching him and you're praying for his downfall inside. That's how men usually do this kind of thing. We don't say it, but it's there deep down. And then as soon as your homie does something even small, that's just like an excuse for you to just be like, you know what, screw this. Nigga, you did this and that to me, blah, blah, blah. And then you guys are gonna just have an altercation, and that's the end of it. And it's just because we don't talk as men. We don't say, hey, what's going on with you? Like, we don't check up on each other enough. You know, it's always like, hey, where you at? Let's meet at blah, blah, blah. There's never the question of how's things at home, how's your love life, how are you doing in this aspect, you know.
How's your mental health?
Exactly. So all the time we're just sweeping things under the carpet, and after a while things just kind of build up.
So how does that work with your mental health? Like, who are you supposed to talk to as a guy in a country where therapy isn't easily accessible to everyone?
The worst thing about how men approach like troubles, whether it's mental health or anything else, is that most Zambian men take to the bottle. You know, so like the best form of dealing with that is like drinking this problem away, you know, because when you're drunk you don't have to think too much or whatever, you know, and that's the worst part, because there's a point where you're going to get sober again, and what happens after that? And if people keep sweeping things under the rug, it's just it makes it worse. So this is why I find like we're just so afraid to talk about mental health issues, especially as men, because it's going to look like a sign of weakness. If somebody finds out, even if the girl I like finds out to say, oh, I'm dealing with depression and whatnot, it makes me less human, is how we kind of come to understand it now, because we haven't been taught.
It actually makes you white.
That's the good
Africans, a lot of Zambians, even we as women are trying to go past the whole stigma that mental health issues have attached to them. You're mad. And I was just reading today about a guy that killed himself. I was looking at his Facebook feed, and his guy friends, I don't know if it's like a cult or something, but his guy friends were encouraging him to do it. Men, that's our biggest problem. Everything that we do, we want to do it for the squad, you know, for the boys. But then we forget that there's a point where our boys are going to go home, and we're going to go home, and we have to build our homes, and we've got families that we have to take care of, and your squad won't be there to do that with you. Squads are just there for chilling. But to actually do life, that's a whole different thing, you know. That's a very different thing. So like men need to have some sense of individuality. And this is what I love about women, because they have a strong sense of purpose. But for me, even if I decide something, my guy comes through and he's like, nah, bro, spend all that money that you've been saving up for this, we can do it. Because men are weak like that. All right? And it's okay if any guys hate me for saying this, but it's the truth. Yeah. And I feel like at the end of the day, like you're not here as a spokesperson for men.
True. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah, you're here just to share and have an open conversation. When men are being taught sexual health and sex education, where does consent come in?
It doesn't.
So how do you know, what are you taught about a woman giving you consent to go that far with her?
We're taught like next to nothing, zero. Because as far as men, when it comes to men learning about sex, it's usually from, you know, when you're a kid, there's always those older boys in the neighborhood that have kind of stolen their dad's porn magazines and stuff like that. So you kind of learn about sex from the wrong sources as men, because your father won't talk to you about it. Definitely your mom won't talk to you about it. So you always learn from these boys and whatnot, and from each other. And there's just like a lot of wrong information that we feed each other as guys, you know, because it's all about like, no, you just do this, you just do that. If she says yes, then she wants, you know. We don't know about the right of her saying no, even in the middle of the act. Like we don't know all that stuff, because we're teaching each other. So level ones can't teach level ones. You need somebody who's much higher than you. And there's just that thing of like, as guys, we don't really care about women. So it's like all about me getting mine. So that consent thing doesn't even come into play, because it's about, I just need to get my release. That's about it.
That's actually quite scary.
To hear myself actually say this is very sad. Most times, even if, let's say, your elders taught you about sex as a man, it's more about, no, when your woman comes, you need to do this and do that. It's never about she has to be comfortable, she has to feel loved, she has to, you know, it's never about that. So that's where the big problem comes in, because it's all about you getting yours and never about make her feel comfortable, make her feel loved. Like, does she agree to this? Does she agree to that? Is she cool with using protection? Is she not? You know, it's kind of like, we look at it like a turnoff, knowing what your person is thinking or what the other person is thinking. But I feel like you need that kind of dialogue before you do all this. Before you engage into anything, you need to talk, communicate, verbally as well as physically.
Yeah.
You know, just makes the whole experience better at the end of the day.
Wow.
Like, you know, when the time comes to like teach nephews or nieces or any young men that need this, comes, these are things that we need to, like, the starting points. Like, the person that you are intending to have sex with or whatever, how does she feel about this? You know, because you could be making this whole plan alone in your head and this person is not aware of it. And when that happens, that becomes rape. You know, so you're just making all these plans going, you want to go forward with something the other person hasn't even consented with. And sometimes just because a woman is quiet doesn't mean, you know, that it's a yes. Sometimes she's just afraid. She doesn't know how you respond when you say no.
Yeah.
Or when she denies you of something. So she's just going to keep quiet. Never take that as a yes until she actually tells you to say go for it.
You know, someone somewhere is probably thinking, but she didn't say no. And they're going to blame the woman for not saying no, for not screaming, you didn't fight enough, you didn't do this enough.
Oh yeah, that's it's a slippery slope, but I always believe in reading somebody's body language. You can tell when you're wanted and you can tell when you're not wanted. So when you tell that you tell that somebody is uncomfortable, the best thing that you can do for yourself is just pull back until this person is comfortable. And this usually happens in relationships when people are having sex for the first time. You know, this girl loves you. She wants to say yes to you, but she doesn't want to say no to you as well. You know, and she's just caught there in the middle. She doesn't know what to do. And you can tell she's a little bit scared.
Yeah.
But if you go ahead and say, nah, bruh, she didn't say no, then you should be ashamed of yourself. You should have been able to read the situation and say, this person was definitely not ready. She was uncomfortable. Or maybe if she was ready, she was not 100%. She wasn't over that line where you can say, yes, we can go ahead. And I would honestly feel ashamed. I wouldn't feel any type of satisfaction from that, because if somebody gives themselves to me, I want them to give themselves to me, you know, with all that.
100%.
Yeah. So if I feel like somebody is uncomfortable, we're not there yet, I'm just going to be like, you know what, cool, let's wait a little bit. The minute you start forcing things is rape. And rape is not always aggressive. That's the thing people need to understand, especially men. You don't have to wrestle or get on top of her to the point where she can't come off you. You know, you don't have to pin her down. Like, rape can be very chill and passive, and it's still rape.
People don't know that.
They don't.
People don't understand that. It's crazy because we always push one image of what rape is.
Yeah.
It's violent, it's aggressive, your shirt is torn, your buttons have been lost, you know, you're bruised, you're being pinned down. He's like aggressive, but it doesn't always pan out that way.
No. And most times, like, when our sisters are going through all this sexual abuse in the house and whatnot, the reason why we don't know about it is because it's not that violent. You won't see any scars, you won't see any bruising, no swelling anywhere. The person looks perfectly fine, but inside they're dying because that uncle just came and he just touched her like this. That's as chill as it can be, and yet that's abuse, you know?
Yeah. When it comes to men reporting any kind of abuse, sexual abuse, domestic abuse, why is it that other men will make fun of you? Like, I see online men posting comments about, oh, I wish I had such hot teachers when I was in school, when they're having sex with young children. But if it's an older man having sex with a younger child, they're disgusting.
Yeah, it's gross.
So what's
that
the
double
problem?
Standard. The problem is just basically the way we've been conditioned as men. We look at an older woman or an older man, well, not man, but woman, having sex with you as a plus, you know? It's like every
another notch on your belt.
Yes, this is like a fetish for guys, you know? It's like every boy's dream. I remember when I was a teenager, my dream, yes, guys, this is sad, but my dream was to be a porn star. Because you want to have all the sex you can have in one lifetime. You know, like every day, you just think like women are going to be on top of you. So it's the same kind of mentality with older women sleeping with you. It's just like, just be grateful she slept with you. All right, you got yours. and that's all a man knows and needs to get some, you know. So that's how bad it is.
So how do we overcome that? Because there's a lot of trauma that men have, like abused men have, like when it comes to them being abused by women, it erodes the trust of women. It just, you know, their quality of life is different. I know men are supposed to be strong, men are supposed to be this, men are supposed to be that, but when it comes to someone ruining you, ruining your mental health and your trust in a particular sex, like what do we have to do? What do men have to do to stop this? Like stop this and be a system of support to another guy.
I feel like men, we need to start communicating more, opening up the most realist dialogues we possibly can, because you'd be amazed at how many people have gone through this and we just don't know, because it's something I've buried deep within myself as a man. I'm just never going to talk about when that aunt came on to me and whatnot, because if I tell my guys that a woman pinned me down, one, they're not going to believe me. Even if they do believe me, they're still just going to brush it off as, dude, just be grateful. Yeah. So we need to change this way of looking at things, all right? And I also, as a guy, need to not brush away my fellow guys when they come and tell me to say, hey, this happened. But I must be able to make myself uncomfortable for them, like, let's talk about this. Yeah. The thing with us as humans is when we're talking about deep issues, we feel uncomfortable. The person telling me feels uncomfortable, the person listening feels uncomfortable. But that's kind of just the way life has to play out. Sometimes we need to get to a point where we're not comfortable and start breaking down walls and start finding out the root of the cause and deciding how are we going to move forward from here.
I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have when it comes to rape, when it comes to men being raped, is they say, oh, but you were hard. If you were hard, how was it your penis was erect, so how was that rape?
Yeah, you know, and it's the same thing with women. They're gonna be like, no, she was wet, so she wanted it, you know. But that's just like a very biological response to anything, you know. Even if I'm not in the mood, the minute I stroke a little bit, I'm just gonna get hard. And it's the same with a woman. If she's gonna just rub a little bit, she's gonna get wet. It's just a biological response. It doesn't mean anything.
I feel like for anyone out there who has kind of dealt with a situation, just know that at the end of the day, if you don't consent to having sex with someone, regardless of whether you were erect and they forced themselves on you, that's rape.
It is.
You are not a weak person, you're not a dirty person. It's just the person that did that to you is sick, basically, and it's not your fault, which is one of the biggest things that a lot of people have to deal with, because we self-blame. There's a lot of self-blame and internalization, and I think we need to come to a point where victims of whatever type of abuse reach a point where they know and understand. It's not an easy process, but I really, really feel like we could get to a point where people just understand that it's not you, it's the person that committed this crime against you.
Exactly. You know, so just don't allow yourself to feel dehumanized by this person who's done this very inhumane act towards you. You know, it's not you, it's them. They're the person to blame here. You're just the victim. And be free. Like, as much as it's hard, please always have somebody that you trust that you can speak to. And this is why even in our friendships, don't build superficial friendships where you can't talk about anything and everything with your friends. You want to be able to be open about these things even to your closest people. I feel like that's the reason why we have close people. You know, so like always build the right type of relationships. It makes it easier to deal with these sort of things, because most times I know like as our parents are going to brush it off. Yeah. They're just going to be like, no, you're lying. That's too big. You know, it's too big. It can't be true.
And a lot of times they want to protect the family. They want to protect the family name.
Exactly.
And it's just a disgrace for them. Instead of focusing on your psychological health, your mental health as a victim, they choose, you know, the name of the family over you. And that's quite damaging for a lot of people, because that takes away the trust that you have in people that are supposed to protect you.
And if the trust is gone from the people that you regard as the closest and dearest and most important people of your life, it changes the way you interact and the way you see other people outside of your home. Because if you can't trust the most trusted, these people, your family, how can you trust outsiders?
That's true.
You know, and your value of life just starts to go down because you become a skeptic in every single thing, and you meet people that are genuine and you shut them off and push them away because of that experience of being pushed away by your family. So this is also just an encouragement to like our families to say, when somebody comes to you with something, listen. Don't brush it off. Listen, pay attention. All right? Don't think it's jokes, it's serious. I don't think there's a child that will go out of their way to lie about something so serious.
Thank you so much, Samm, for coming in and sharing, teaching me a few things. Like I always say, it's always great to listen to people. Listening is very important. Having conversations is very important. Being honest is also one of the biggest things when it comes to having conversations. So I hope you guys learned something as well. And if you have any comments, leave them down below. I'm going to pop his
subscribe.
information. I'm going to pop Sam's information in the description bar as well. So if you guys want to talk to him, you can talk to him. He's got pretty cool opinions on social media and in real life.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for watching and
thank you.
Bye.